Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, June 21st, 2021. We're at a public hearing to talk about the budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. At this time, I will look over to Leslie and Andy to see if y'all have any comments. If not, we'll open it up for discussion from City Council. I'll first defer to the two of you.
Well, the budget that was published had the 1.7 mil increase in there. You can decrease it from that point, but you cannot add to it without another public hearing. And that would need to happen, golly, I mean, July 1st. I don't even know if you really have time.
Don't have time to advertise.
You don't have time to advertise for it, so I would say that's probably your maximum.
Okay. Good insight, information, discussion.
No, I've talked about this before. I know we wanted to publish it at the max for the standpoint of that way you can always back up. I kind of have a challenge increase in the millage this year. Just when you put in all your different increases, whether it be from rec, whether it be sewer utility, the amount of money given our reserves that we have on hand coming out this year, what we have coming from the CARES Act already starts some of the infrastructure work we need. You can kind of make the argument either way. Yes, it's not a lot, and I agree that the logic behind gradual millage increases is sound. Just coming out of the year we're coming out of, and coupled with the other expenses out there, I'm probably kind of lean towards not increasing the millage. Would be my thoughts.
Other thoughts?
Thought on a different topic. I had asked Andy to work on at some point where we could put the Green Crescent funding so you could see it all in one place, because it is in a number of different places for each year. I was a little bit surprised, and I know we've got a lot of other challenges right now that with the amount of funding, it didn't seem to be in line with the, as we talked about priorities, as we've heard from the public, with the focus on that plan. And I think there's going to be opportunities this year, so I would just hope that this year, as the Green Crescent Trail goes after grant money and other dollars, that if we can find ways out of fund balance or other, not a lot of money, but to leverage kind of in line with what their request was, or up to that point, if they are able to on their end secure other funding through grants and other opportunities there. And this year we really look at a line item that will get us towards that plan that the board shared with us to keep that project moving down the road. And that will help. Again, right now we're like Coach Sweeney used to say, I was selling hope. When you go out and recruit, as they're going out to look for donations and those kind of things, the big question that they're getting is, well, what's the city putting into it on a regular basis? And until we have significant funding where we can say we're going to invest X millions of dollars over a couple of years, that's where they could go with the bigger ask to get a naming sponsorship potentially. And we'll need to be there if we ever want those kind of things to be leveraged. So hope we look at that.
The only thing I'll add to that real quickly, your comment about, the respect of what have we done. We do have, we can share this with everyone, what we've contributed up to this point.
Right.
But you said it very well. What are we going to continue contributing regularly going forward? But and I know we've shared that with the Green Crescent Trail as well, what we've contributed up to this point between the Green Crescent Bridge, the grant opportunities for Garden City, and what we're already putting in phase one.
So we need a recurring funding that we can count on.
Steady ones.
Steady, recurring. And Chad had shared with us, shared with all of us a request and a plan that I think is very reasonable and probably doable. It will take some creativity, but I think we should be considering that this year, given the amount of time, effort, and what we've heard from the public on that particular piece of the puzzle.
No, I just was going to reiterate what you're saying about the Green Crescent Trail. I thought that number they needed though was somewhere wasn't it between $400,000 and $500,000.
I think it was just north of 400,000 over 10 years, a 10-year period.
But that's
what their phases were.
But honestly, that 400 and some odd thousand That's each year for that 10-year period. So in other words, we would have to essentially reallocate that money this year and years going forward.
You would be giving up, you'd have to not do a lot of other things. But this year we funded the projects that I knew that they had coming up this year. And you will have an opportunity to go into fund balance, which is very low right now, but after we receive that ARP money, we're able to replenish the losses, then I think it'll look a lot healthier.
But
So-
again, it's not just this year, it's years going forward.
Yeah, $400,000 out of that account. I mean, the whole thing's $800,000. So I mean, you're looking at spending half of it on one project.
Right. It's 818 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, doesn't it become also integral part of Clemson Next, the transportation part?
It is, yeah, it's part of that, and some of that can be tied into
It doesn't
roads.
come from just the one
Yeah.
place.
But it would be nice in the budget to be able to, because again, we're talking a very major project over the course of time, one of the bigger public good projects that we will have done from a dollar, wise perspective. So it'd be nice to be able to see that in one spot, even if it's coming from 3, 4, 5 different pots. It's going to be important as they have, they set a very aggressive target of raising 40% of that request through grants and other sources. But to do that, it really helps to have the commitment there to leverage.
Wouldn't a portion of that trail, though, end up ultimately being kind of the low-hanging fruit in the Nettles Park pieces that they proposals they had brought forward to us, the trail network, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the portion that went through there would be part of the Nettles Park project.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Where you couldn't tie them together somehow.
So the only other thing I was going to add to that discussion is in respect of, remember the rescue funds are dedicated for infrastructure as a whole.
Right.
The Green Crescent is part of that. If you think about it, if it's improving walkability, bikeability, safety, most importantly within our community, so just keep that in mind as a possibility.
That was confirmed at the conference, it would be an eligible expense.
So there you go. So
And
there's
like I said,
confidence.
and as Andy said too, when that comes in and we're able to get our fund balances healthy again and what we lost, this year in the short term, if Green Crescent, says, hey, we've got an opportunity where we can get this $200,000 grant, but it needs matching money, we should be able to scrape something together to help that happen and not miss an opportunity along the way, and work this year to do figure out a way to do recurring, regular funding to leverage.
I'm going to go to a caller. Sorry, we still have a discussion with the city council. But the last 4 digits are 7594 and 7594. The current caller that's on right now, if your last 4 digits are 7594, again 7594, please speak up. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so
They got tired of listening. They fell asleep.
other comments. Other comments. Please.
I think I want to go back to the non-specific kids. I think that the hesitation is still not comfortable raising at this specific time, just simply because of the fact that we do have the additional funds coming with the 3 years rescue fund, and also the program situation coming out of a year where more increases could in some ways impact communities. We don't have a system to determine how that's going to impact others, to ensure that it does. And so I would still be hesitant about the ability to do that.
So, as I've been saying with the millage increase, We do have some data available about how people are doing. The employment numbers that Robert shared, showed the spike and have come back down to normal levels. The fact that our sales tax collections were extremely robust this year. And I'm not saying that there weren't people that were struggling, but overall, people were not spending like they were struggling this year if our sales tax numbers aren't as healthy as they were. So even with the latest round of rescue money, friends that are in the restaurant business have said that when this round comes through, while they're not going to necessarily get back what they took out of their savings and that kind of thing, but they're back to pretty whole and in pretty good shape as far as the year went. As a matter of fact, I had one say it would be better than an average year moving forward in one of the industries that was the hardest hit. So I'm not saying that there aren't people who had issues, but I'm saying as a whole, if we look at as a whole, there's a lot of data out there that indicates otherwise in people's financial situation and health during the pandemic. And again, I'm always going to be for incremental increases as opposed to having to get to a point knowing what we have in front of us where we have to do big increases every year, particularly since this year can be cost neutral to the taxpayer.
I'd have to agree with that, with what Bob said. I mean, we're looking at roads and infrastructure, even though they're going to have almost $5 million to go towards that. That's 5 miles. And we got 75 miles we got to figure out how to do. And then you're talking about Bells Park, talking about the Green Crescent Trail. I just don't feel like we can afford not to.
And even bigger, here's what people, that's metals, sorry. I'm looking for the report that they gave us on the roads. So if you go back to the roads issue that Chris and Benji put together for us, it's not the $5 million to resurface the 5 miles. That's not the big number. In the original list of 7 or 8 priority projects that totaled like $14 million almost. 1.7 of that was the resurfacing. It was the 12.8 million that was underneath with the utilities and everything else that has to go on there. So that's what we're really dealing with. And again, that was 7 of many projects that we have that they'll be coming to us with, and that was 22 lane miles. So that's both sides of the
Well, that's the bigger number. The $5 million number was the lesser number of miles. That's the smaller chart. But again, when you think about the infrastructure piece, just like you said, under the ground, we have one of those situations blow up on us. We got a problem, big time problem.
So, any other, I'll just chime in. I think I've already chimed in before, but I'll just repeat. I haven't changed the way I'm thinking about this as well. But you already heard it. You already heard it from me in your stuff. I'll say it again. I do not feel like it's the right time for a lot of different reasons. The amount. I do feel like it's, if we consider the future, it should be incremental. Bobby said it very well. It should be considered. We do have a big challenge ahead of us, but you have to take steps in the right direction. But this year, I cannot get comfortable right now based on all the other things that we've been dealing with. And moving forward, I would definitely want to consider it and incrementally consider it next year. And the keywords and stuff is that. But I've already said the reasons why. Those are just my thoughts. Make sure I was fully transparent. Any other comments? Any calls?
Oh, I know. Is there another call?
That same caller's on.
You want me to try to repeat it again? What was it, 7?
It's, last 4 digits, 7594.
So if you're 7594 and you'd like to talk about the budget for 2021-22, this is our public hearing right now for public comment. Please chime in. If you're here to listen to our normal normal scheduled city council meeting 6:30, so I understand that maybe it's a difficult issue. Are we good? We're open to discussion right now on obviously public hearing, the budget for 2021-22.
I'd also like to see, and this is just another thing to think about this year, as not that you haven't had just tons to think about coming in the door, but as we move forward, thinking about how we present and have our fund balance, and so we know where fund balance is committed and what we have is uncommitted fund balance that's available for emergencies or other projects that may come up, that we have that for each of our funds, whatever the fund balance is, $5 million, say, 2.5 is committed, and it's committed to these projects, and we have 2.5 there. If we can, again, just have a really apparent, easy to understand sheet for the public and us.
And that is in the works. I mean,
Yeah.
but I have got to get through this fiscal year end to figure that out. So
Yeah.
that was part of the issue with having a conversion in software. And so, but yes, sir, we are definitely doing that.
And I only say that because if not, it'll slip my mind and it'll go away, and it'll be a while before it comes back,
It's
because I'm
on
just
my-
at that point in my life.
It's on the top of my to-do list.
Yes.
So
Thank you. Like I said, you've been doing a great job. I like how, things were presented and how we went through this process this year, especially considering getting thrown into the fire to a certain extent and doing a really nice job on untangling everything.
Throw in what you just said too, the software conversion. That was a huge undertaking, so thank you. Actually, I won't say the specific employee that I spoke to today, but she was very complimented that we're at the, I wouldn't say the end, but a lot of it's been accomplished, thanks to your efforts and many others within the finance department, so thank you very much. So, that's awesome. Any other comments? I will give it at 6:20 right now. I'll give it till 6:23. I give 3 more minutes. Yeah. I'm trying to keep things as efficient as possible. No, we do want to make sure if there's any other, this is what it's all about, public comment. If anybody has any other comments on the budget, please call in. Well, what is that number? 653-9886. Okay, 653-9886. Again, 653-9886. Thank you. Thanks so much. Unless there's any other comments to session, Catherine, you don't have to say anything. I was just more or less just thinking. Just want to make sure you had plenty of opportunity. As you.
Is that what happens when you're late?
That's what happened.
He should have taken pictures of you walking on the floor with the clock is back.
I apologize, I got caught at the dance.
You're not as late as
You're good.
Not his latest friend. There
Yeah,
you go.
Friends.
not last.
I'm still looking at it. Well, that's very serious. I don't think
Put your glasses
Is there an occasion for this?
no, I just wondered why.
Yeah, to my knowledge, he didn't take it.
Yeah, I want to give people what they're talking and that kind of stuff.
Just taking them.
We still have plenty of opportunity at 6:30 and beyond.
You're talking
Thank you.
about
Let's act like we're having an argument.
Well, let's just talk.
talk about adult stuff.
None of us would know how to do
We
that.
can't handle that. We are not old enough for that deal. That's for certain.
You're retired. You can talk about it.
No, not yet.
I tell you one thing. Of late, I don't feel very good.
You don't need any shots from me.
All right.
You've lost control.
Yeah, everybody, we still got 2 more minutes of public hearing. Hold on, we still have a regular meeting right now, waiting to see if there's any comments. So if we can keep it, thank you, Paul, Beverly. You got a couple more minutes to make sure if there are any calls, anybody here for public hearing on the budget. This is your opportunity. According to my time, right there, it's basically 6:23.